According to one commenter, I've been cleaning carburetors wrong my entire life, and the solution to clean it should only cost $1. Well, let's put it to the test today. So I've done a number of videos on how to clean a carburetor using an ultrasonic cleaner and testing a lot of different types of cleaning materials and types and different types of solutions and for how long. And yeah, I think we've covered pretty much all of it until somebody left me a comment. This person from, I don't know, a country that I don't remember. I'll leave it on the screen. But anyway, he said that I've been doing it wrong. The solution I'm using is way too expensive, and there's a cheaper way to do it that should only cost about $1. Very simple, using a ultrasonic cleaner, hot water, and soap. And that's it. Nothing else. Now I'm completely up to checking out different ways of doing things or trying different solutions or types or different ways of doing it. And yeah, I've tested just about every different way there is to do it, including this one. And according to him, that this method returns a carburetor back to factory-like conditions or back to factory specs or the way it comes directly from the factory. I'll leave his comments on the screen. You can read it. And while I appreciate the thought and while I appreciate the ideas that other people have, and we've tested out a number of them on the channel quite a bit using, like I said, all sorts of different solutions, this one he just wouldn't let it go. And I'm down for a challenge. I'm down for testing something new or testing a different way of doing it. But I will tell you that he's got a long shot of this actually working. Now, I'm going to look at a couple of different carburetors. This is the dirtiest, nastiest, filthiest, most disgusting carburetor that I have in my hoard today. It's disgusting, it's dirty, it's filthy, it's been certainly not taken very well good care of, but I don't know that I'm going to use this one. I'm going to set this person and this idea that he has up for success. So I'm not going to use this filthy, disgusting, terrible, dirty carburetor. We're going to use something a little cleaner to, like I say, give him the best chance of getting the best result out of his recipe. So this carburetor is dirty on the inside. It's certainly been, gotten some, it's probably run very rich is what the challenge has been with this one. But I just took it apart and we're just going to do the main body. I'm not going to test or dunk everything else in there because I just want to concentrate it on one part of the carburetor. And again, give it the most amount of success that it could have. I've knocked the jets out of it, knocked all the boosters out of it. We're just going to test it as is. Now, if you look in the bowls here on the outside, it's dirty, it's filthy, but it's got the ability to be restored back to something a little bit more closer to factory stock or as it came factory condition. There's no way that a cleaning solution can return a carburetor back to that. So I hate to pick on him on that point, but I'm going to. You're not going to get this back to that factory-like condition. I'm going to assume that he meant something similar to that. But again, he made that comment over and over again. I won't share all of the comments with you. You go back and look at that original video if you like and see all of them. It's really not that important. However, I'm going to give it the best shot here of getting something back close to that. And I'm going to assume that that's what he meant, but you're never going to return a carburetor back to perfect condition. It's impossible. Doesn't matter what cleaning solution you use, not on this type of carburetor, not on any type of carburetor. So now we have the carburetor picked out. We've decided how we're going to do it. Let's talk about the recipe that he says is the end-all be-all and the best way to do it, and it's the cheapest way to do it. Now, I pushed him repeatedly for some details in the recipe. If he wanted to share it, I gave him the opportunity to send it to me through my website, email me, tell me some details on how he did it, but he refused to. He was getting upset with it, and I get it. I understand. I was picking on him a little bit and telling him that, no, I've tried it, or no, it's not going to work, and no, different solutions can have different ways of or different ways of being successful, but unfortunately hot water and soap just doesn't work out. And I think he was getting a little frustrated with that. And again, there may be a little bit of a language barrier, no problem at all. But the details that he did give us is that we use about a quarter bottle of a soap, dishwashing soap. And well, anybody that's ever used dishwashing soap or Dawn soap knows that it's extremely good at doing what it does. Heck, and if it even cleans baby duckies perfectly clean, then it's got to clean a carburetor really well, right? So that's what we're going to do. We're going to use probably a third of the bottle. I'm gonna get a little more aggressive with it. Again, I'm gonna give it every opportunity to clean that carburetor to back to factory condition. So I'm going to give it every advantage. We're going to use very, very, very hot water. I'm going to go boil some water on the stove and see if I can drop this or get this up to around past 50, 55, maybe even 60. I don't think this ultrasonic cleaner is capable of doing that. It's certainly capable of reading that high. So I'm going to get extremely hot water in here, use most of this. The problem though with that is the cleaning solutions that I use, typically an over the counter Zep universal degreaser is the best one I've tried. The problem with that though is if you get it too hot, it tends to gray out the material on the carburetor. So I don't know what type of dishwashing soap that they use over there. I've certainly dealt with some Mikuni carburetors in the past on the motorcycles that I've had, and I understand the type of material they are. I don't have any here, or I would just test it out on his. But again, he was pointing out that I was doing it wrong on this type of carburetor. So we're going to try it as I tested it in the past and the comments that he made and using the Dawn dish soap. Now, again, because he didn't share any details with us or refused to share any additional details, I don't know exactly how he was doing it or how hot it was, but he suggested that it had to be hot enough, or maybe I wasn't using it hot enough, and maybe the dishwashing soap that we were using wasn't good enough. I think we can all argue that Dawn is probably the best thing that we have here in the States, and certainly it's pretty well renowned for being a pretty awesome cleaner, and we're going to use the hottest amount of fluid that we can. So let's do that. Let me go get some water boiling. We'll get this in there. Again, the problem with using a lot of heavy on the dishwashing detergent, and I'm very liberal with it when I use it in that cleaning solution, is the problem is the agitation of it, and it does create suds, and we're going to see that get very aggressive out of here. So I'm going to lower the fluid level down just a little bit because I know we're going to get a lot of the suds out of there. But anyway, that's what I'm going to do. Let me go get the water boiling. We'll get this set up. I'm going to run it for a 20-minute cycle, and we'll pull it out of there, see how it worked, and see what it did. So let's get that started, and then we'll come back and get this set up and then get that thing soaking. Not sure how much hotter that's going to get, so I'm going to go ahead and add in the dish soap now. And yeah, maybe almost a third. Okay, may have been almost. Okay, so half a bottle, not quite the quarter bottle he said, but like you said, we're going to give it every opportunity to be successful. So I'm going to stir that up a little bit, and then let's drop the carburetor in and get this thing running, see what happens. All right, let's see what this looks like after its 20-minute bath. Oh. Whew. She's a little warm, a little hot. Let's see if we can figure out what we did here. Get the lid back on there. All right. So, unfortunately, didn't remove a lot of that material. Let's take a look at, see what, yeah. You gotta get aggressive with it, but it's not bad. It's a little weird. It's kind of gummy. Let's see if we can. It definitely needs to be rinsed off. There's a lot of soap residue in there. So, you know what? The outside didn't really turn out too bad. Let me do this. Let me go rinse this off really quick, and then we'll come back and we'll take a look at it in a little bit more closer detail. One thing I noticed when I was rinsing this off is, the outside of it doesn't look that bad. Again, it is starting to gray a little bit, but I think that's just more of the hot water than anything else. One thing that a water heavy solution does, though, is you have to be very careful with the linkage in here. Now, a lot of this isn't, steel on steel, so it's not, it doesn't have a propensity to rust, but I would highly suggest if you're going to use that type of solution that you do a very good job of making sure that you blast out of there with air all the water and anything that's potentially left in there, and certainly hit it with some WD-40 to help prevent that. But, honestly, it did a okay job. Dawn dish soap or dish liquid or whatever you want to call it, it's a very good detergent. And that's what we need to understand here is there's a difference between a solvent and a detergent. A detergent does a really good job of removing light deposits on something, but when you have something that's a little bit different in makeup, it doesn't do so well. When we talk about a carburetor and the things that go through that, what really is effective on it is a solvent. A solvent is what is going to break up all of that gross, ugly, fuel and carbon and garbage that was on there, break it up with how it attacks those type of deposits. And it does things that a detergent is just not going to be able to do. Now, again, the more I kind of rub on this a little bit, it is coming off there pretty good. But honestly, you're going to have to spend an awful lot of time doing it. And I don't know that you wouldn't have gotten any other different result with that carburetor for the most part, just using a regular solvent. So let's just take a little bit closer look at it on the inside here. It really didn't do anything of, removing anything on the throttle plates. We're still very, very dirty on all of it. Let me see if we can. Yeah, I mean, again, if you put a lot of pressure on it, but that's one of the nice things about a solvent is it breaks down all those things and it comes off very clean and very easy. A lot of times out of a chem dip or something of that nature, when it comes out of there, you still may have these deposits that look like they're on there, but one little quick blast of carburetor cleaner or when you're, kind of hitting it with a light brush or whatever, it literally just falls right off of there. You don't have to do any really aggressive rubbing or re-cleaning over it to go over it. So I would love to tell you that this is an absolute fail, but it's really not if you look at it. And I'll give the gentleman, I'm assuming he's a gentleman, I'll give him a little bit of credit. If you had a really, really, really clean carburetor and you just wanted to ensure that the outside looked okay and you put a really clean carburetor in there, it would probably do an okay job. But on something that's got any amount of dirt, deposits, ugliness in there, it's going to take quite a bit extra work to get this completely clean. So, I mean, it's even left behind a lot of the gasket material. So, yeah, it's not bad, but it's certainly not clean. So let's take a look inside the tank now that it's had time to calm down a minute or two. And I'm going to drain out some of the fluid out of there, just see how much deposits were left behind. Because like I say, this was a dirty carburetor, but it's not something that a good solvent wouldn't take care of in a good, 20-minute bath. Maybe if you had to, you may have to run another, 10, 20 minutes to continue to break that stuff down. But that's what a good solvent will do, is it'll get rid of all that stuff pretty easily and pretty, yeah. I mean, like I say, it's okay, but it's not, to his point that it was going to return it back to factory looking new. And I'm sorry, that's just not the case. So I'll just chalk that up to it was a language barrier, and that's not what he really meant. But yeah, did it do a perfect job? Absolutely not. Is it better than solvent? Absolutely not. Is it a good alternative if you don't have anything available and you have a really clean carburetor? You just want to verify that everything's good and the best it can? Yeah, I guess so, but you're still going to have to blast it with, some carburetor cleaner or something like that to ensure that you've broken down all of the garbage that could potentially be in some of those passageways. Because that's what you're really trying to eliminate. The outside stuff, that's easy to see, but everything in the passages and the boosters and the accelerator pump, the well there for the pump through the jets, you can't see any of that. And you've got to know that if you're going to use something to clean it, that's going to get it actually clean. So let's pop the tank off and let's drain some of the water out of there, and let's see what it left behind. I let this sit for about another hour, hour and a half, I guess, just to try to let as much of the junk settle to the bottom. And then I didn't use the regular drain spout because I didn't want to agitate and disturb it and send anything down. So I just scooped all the water out of it, and there's probably a quarter of an inch left in there. But you can see that there is some dirt, there is some garbage that made it off of there, and it's natural. With a good detergent, you're going to remove some of the garbage off there, but it certainly, obviously, by the looks of the carburetor, didn't remove everything off of there. So it does a okay job, and probably, again, if the carburetor was really, really, really clean, you wouldn't see any of that in there, and it would do a little bit better job, I guess, at, removing some of the really light stuff that didn't require a solvent to break it up and remove it off the carburetor. I really hope that commenter comes back and takes a look at this. Not to give them an "I told you so" or whatever, but do two things. One, clarify that that's the recipe you're using. I know we went a little bit back and forth, and you didn't want to give it to me, but you gave me enough to try it, and I appreciate that. Did it work? No, not at all. Is it perfect? Does it return it back to factory condition? Absolutely not. Does it do an okay job? Probably, with some really light grunge and nastiness on there. But again, you're going to have to spend a significant amount of time. Now, one thing that I didn't notice is I'm going to have to hit this with some solvent to remove the remainder of the detergent that's on there. I did run this under some hot water, clean hot water in the sink, just to try to wash the rest of it off. But I can tell you right now that soapy residue from the dish soap is leaving a little bit behind on there. I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal, but quite honestly, this needs to go back into the cleaner anyway, so it will actually get clean. So anyway, if you've got a recipe that you think absolutely works hands down, it's cheaper than Chem Dip, it works 100% of the time, leave that down in the comments. Give me some ideas of stuff that you've tried that you think I'm foolish for using Chem Dip and a ultrasonic, or using a off the shelf degreaser and solvent to try to remove it all. Let me know what your thoughts are on it, and yeah, so we'll get back. We'll clean this thing back up and get it assembled and get it on the website and get it on down the road. So if you got any questions, leave them down below. And yeah, I hope that gentleman comes back and continues to engage and tell me what I did wrong, because I'm quite sure you're going to be probably upset with the results. But again, it wasn't a gotcha moment. I just wanted to show that, yeah, I listen, and unfortunately, it just doesn't work. We'll catch you guys on the next one. We'll see you.